Hello, Scala.
Hi.
Hi, how's it going?
It's great.
Good.
You have a new location, you're not in the library?
I think it's the same, right? Maybe it's only because of the light.
Oh, okay.
We're in
I
the
thought I
same
saw
place.
Okay. I thought I saw a message that you had to change location.
Okay. I think next week. Yeah, this
Okay.
week is still open. Yeah.
Got it. Got it.
Let's get started. It's a very interesting passage, 42. So, I can read it out today. Dao gives birth to one, one gives birth to two, two gives birth to three, three gives birth to 10,000 things. All things have yin on their back and yang in their embrace. The qi of the two converge and become harmony. Any questions or comments?
Yeah, I guess the phrases I'm most curious about in the translation are on their back and in their embrace. It's kind of vague.
Mm. I can now a little bit unprepared, but I can get into that. Also a little bit about the etymology, I think. Here, this is very interesting stuff. Don't have the. That's, sorry, but basically I want to say, I would say this sentence is like an analytic definition of yin and yang from the etymologische like aspect. I will share my screen shortly. This one is yin. It basically means, like you can say, some this part here is rather like obvious. Is a picture of mountains, but like 90 degrees, like how to say that? Rotated. And so this, in fact, this part just means mountains. Also, then this part and this part, you can see. And the other part is basically also just means the back of the mountains, which the sun cannot get to. And this is a word, basically a picture. Try to draw a picture of those stuff like the side of the mountain, which the sun cannot reach or reach very seldomly. And of course, the other yang is the other way around. That just means a picture of mountain and the sun together. Basically means the side of the mountain, which the sun always shines. Hey, we don't have those old pictures in this. Here. Yes, we have. So this part is mountain, and this is the sun, and somehow here's this. Usually this one is a peak. I don't know why we have a peak here. So the explanation here means means sunshine. The right part means sunshine. But in any ways, you can see this is basically the front part of the mountain, as Laozi here says. So he says, just like an explanation of the etymologies, say. How about this explanation, Skylar? You're on mute, I think. Skylar, you're on mute.
I'm sorry. Sometimes the like police and the Krankenwagen go by and it gets really loud, so I try to mute it and then I forget.
No problem.
Yeah, I was just saying, I think that helps with understanding yin and yang themselves as characters, but I'm still unclear on what it means for all things to have yin on their back and yang in their embrace.
Yeah, which just means here, like, for all things, for example, I can translate it slightly differently. For all things, yin means on their back and yang means in their embrace. If you want to add of the sun, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because just yin means on their back of the sun, and the yang means in their embrace of the sun.
Sure, but it's like this is a sort of cosmological or
Analytic
passage. You know, it just seems like it has to be deeper than an etymological sort of account, right? Or the etymology can help us, but I think we're talking about something cosmological here, right?
I think that the last three sentences we got lost because of the connection problem.
Okay.
You said you begin with cosmologic and then we didn't hear you.
I guess, yeah, I'm just thinking that the etymology is clearer to me now with your explanation, but the cosmology is not much clearer, you know.
I see. And here, in fact, this problem, so because these two concepts, yin and yang, are very important in the late Chinese philosophy. And a lot of people then explain this passage, say the one gives birth to two. This two means yin and yang. Why? Because Laozi just mentioned this passage following, right? So it seems to be a very strong argument. But at the same time, in the whole book of Laozi, yin and yang only appear once, which is here. So your question then is just justified to ask. So first, do we have any further explanation of what Laozi means by yin and yang, right? And the second, why Laozi put this concept in a passage which is strongly cosmological, right? And the third, I would say, for this yin and yang, we don't usually just means the sunny back part of the mountain or the shadowy part, but usually like yang is in the male, yin is female, and so on and so forth. So like summer is yang and winter is yin, right? And so on and so forth. So then this concept gets so much elevated, how to say that? Broadened, right?
Expanded, yeah, broadened.
Yeah, expanded. So then it might then have some, I don't know, maybe cosmological meaning. What about this?
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I'm also seeing that Wu thinks that it's also just sort of a naturalistic usage of yin and yang. It's not so I don't know, lofty or difficult, but it's I mean, it's interesting that it's only used one time in the whole book. I'm looking at the C-text translation, and it's very different.
Yes. Can you read it loud? What's the translation there?
Yeah, there are like 6 additional lines. So it's the first are very similar. The Tao produced one produced two produced three produced all things. All things leave behind them the obscurity out of which they have come, and go forward to embrace the brightness into which they have emerged. So it's like a much looser interpretation of yin and yang. And then that sentence ends, while they are harmonized by the breath of vacancy. And I have no idea how he gets that.
Why they are get harmonized and they can see? What's they can breath? Okay.
Yeah, the harmonized breath. Sorry, what's the question?
Okay, I just want and to make sure I understand the last sentence.
Yeah, I can reread the last sentence again, if that is helpful. All things leave behind them the obscurity out of which they have come, and go forward to embrace the brightness into which they have emerged, while they are harmonized by the breath of vacancy. And then there are a bunch of lines which we don't have in the Wu translation. What men dislike is to be orphans, to have little virtue, to be as carriages without naves. And yet these are the designations which kings and princes use for themselves. So it is that some things are increased by being diminished, and others are diminished by being increased. What other men thus teach, I also teach. The violent and strong do not die their natural death. I will make this the basis of my teaching.
I think because we didn't translate this because I think scholars are like unified that this passage is does not really belong to chapter 42. So
yeah, that makes sense. But even oops, sorry. Even the translation of the lines that Wu does maintain, I find it interesting that it's how different they are.
Yeah, the third translation. You can also read it loud until to this harmony. Would you like to do that?
Let me read it.
Yeah, it is loud.
The way produces the one produces two produces three produces the myriad creatures. The myriad creatures shoulder yin and embrace yang. And by blending these qi vital energies, they attain harmony.
Here, of short comments, Skylar.
Yeah.
And harmony seems to be a very central concept right here, or central state. And then also achieved by the somehow emerge and weaving of the vital energy, and which which could be also go further in one line of yin and yang, which is some conflicting or opposite qualities, right? Also very similar to the Greek concept of harmony. Right? Harmony, I wrote in my bachelor thesis, just this one, how means just to somehow put some very distinctive stuff together, then like put Aries and Aphrodite. so you get harmony. That's a very, I find it's very interesting. You know, what I just said is like harmony means two different stuff to come together. Basically, if we think harmony, we think, okay, it's very good, but they are very similar. But in the concept of harmony, you first have the idea of two different stuff, like here yin and yang. If they come together, good, it's harmony. If yin and yin together, it's not harmony, it's just like identity or sameness, right? So only when yin and yang comes together, and then it's harmony.
When two opposite things come together.
Exactly. Or distinctive stuff. And usually then people, we can also come back a little bit to the first character, Dao, right? Dao interpreted as nothingness or emptiness, you know, Dao is Wu. So here means basically a lot of here, I think the interpretation also quite the same from different people. So Dao, basically nothingness. And so from the nothingness, the one or the oneness is generated. But then later on, the interpretation of what this one is, or one means, two, three means, then differs a lot. So how do we interpret this short passage then? For example, Zhuangzi interpreted like this. First, we have the nothingness, which is the Tao, and we have a name for Tao, which is in the sound or the name of the Tao. So the Tao itself and the name of it then become two.
What become two? The Tao and its name?
Yes, so then we have two stuff, right? It's logically following.
So the Tao and its name are not pointing the same thing?
Yes.
And how they can generate two if two same thing?
That's very simple. Just we can also, like here we have a bottle, right? The bottle is one thing, right? The name bottle, so that's another. So the bottle and the name bottle together, we have two objects. That's Zhuangzi's basically the interesting understanding of it. Yeah.
I just get reminded that the Darwin's evolutional theory, I think, can also be. It's also similar to what Laozi said here. So first there is only very simple organism, and then like which have only one cell. So one cell is one life, and then later on we have like very complex creatures, like growing or evolved from there.
Yes, and I think this was a very good, interesting interpretation. You can go one step even further, like in the beginning, or not very beginning, like shortly before life came about, right? There was no life on the earth. So that's in the aspect of life, so nothingness, so no life, right? And then because of this warm pond, right? Now the hypothesis, there's no warm pond, very warm, and there's a lot of stuff into that, and a lot of Nahon, what's that?
Nutrition.
Yeah.
And then the sunshine comes in, and suddenly there's like this big molecule, like organism was generated from nothingness, and then nothingness. Then you have one like this cell, right? And this cell copy itself, and you have two, and so on and so forth, and reply such myriad things. Yeah.
I think what Laozi, when he wrote it, I think maybe he didn't know about this Darwin's theory, but it's like very, very abstract, but which can be used or can be for many, many like disciplines or many, many things or in life.
It's kind of universal or allgemeingültig, right? Or general.
General, like yin and yang, I think is very universal. We have day and then we have evening, which also is yin yang. And then when we created our language, I think many things are also we created like two meanings which are opposite of each other, right? Like even the way we construct our language is also follow the same rule, yin and yang.
What you mean, for example, then one's vowels and the other's consonants?
I mean, for example, fast, slow. So every word meaning has there is a corresponding word which have the opposite meaning.
Dichotomie. So then that's one we just said the Zhuangzi's special interpretation of the two here. And the most common is interpret the two as the heaven and the earth. So which means the nothingness generated one, and the one generated this heaven and earth, and heaven and earth copulates, and there's myriad things, like or 10,000 things. That's one another interpretation.
If earth and the sky is two, and what is one?
Nothingness. Or,
Is Tao, right?
mm,
And what is one?
good question. I will have the.
Maybe the God
Mm,
or Nuwa.
Here, for example, this is then nothingness is what the one.
This is one.
It's very, very. But this is not heaven's interpretation. This is come to together with chapter 40, I think. Chapter 40 and 42 together to interpret this. I cannot find it so quickly. So what's one in that interpretation? Sorry, I cannot find it quickly. Yeah. Yeah. The one will be interpreted as the chaos, because we have a passage in chapter 14 mixed, and then we have the one. So then we have nothingness, and then have the chaos. Chaos is the one, and then chaos separated itself, then become heaven and earth. Then we have two, and when heaven and earth come together, and then generate all the stuff in the world. So that's basically this interpretation. Yeah. Further question or comments? And the third way to interpret it is then the two then be yin and yang. Yin yang come together and then all the stuff are generated. No further questions, then we go to 41 comments.
41 or 43?
43, sorry. See if we could passage.
Is this like having on their back means like people try to avoid yin somehow and try to embrace yang? Or do you think that's what Laozi meant?
It's a good question. So you mean here whether this like on their back and embrace has some normative meaning? Like how does if first why does it have this or judgmental? And the second is if then which would Laozi prefer? I would say first my understanding is Laozi put that just neutral. He just say this in the world there's kind of yin and yang, and there's back and there's front. I think he basically means that. So the second, if he has some value judgment at all, then he would say, okay, then back is better than front. Yin is better than yang, I would say, rather than the way you put it. Right? The way you people usually say. He would say, Laozi usually he would say like female are better than male, yin better than yang, like dark is better in bright, and soft is better in hard, and so on and so forth. He would say the other way around.
I think good or bad is I think here is describe the nature of the creatures. If it's a habit of the creature, then there's no good or bad. It's just their nature.
Exactly. That's the way they are.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I would say that's what Laozi means here. He does not want to say this is bad or good. Just use the word in a natural way.
And in simplest meaning, it can be that, for example, the trees try to get as much sun as possible, sunshine possible, meaning like embrace the yang. And most of the like plants try to avoid the shadow. Or at least they compete with each other for the
sunshine, right? Yeah. So you are kind of suggesting that in the natural way, the yang is better than yin for plants, at least for all the plants.
And for human as well. We need sunshine for vitamin D.
But yeah, how much is that problem, right? Because and in which weather, in which temperature, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, makes sense. We also need night to sleep better.
Yeah. Further question, comments?
I read somewhere previously that yang means like first we have a mixture of complete chaos. and then some order arise from there, means the yang, and the rest is still like chaos.
Where do you find it, in Laozi or just somewhere else?
In some book, people's interpretation.
Okay. Can you still remember which book that is, or in fact not book, right? The internet site.
I told you last time it's a book of Jordan
Okay.
Peterson.
Okay. Then we go to the next chapter. Is anybody willing to read it aloud?
I can read 43. The world's softest prevails over the world's hardest. The formless penetrates the seamless. That is how I came to know the advantage of non-doing. Teaching without words, benefiting by non-doing. Few in this world could emulate that.
Any comments?
Is this she here means precious?
I would say rarely or seldom.
Seldom. What sentence means?
It just means like teaching without words, or the way you teach but does not speak much, and the benefits of the of non-action. Barely somebody can reach that, or like few in the world can reach that, or seldom. It's so seldom that people can reach that.
Mm-hmm. And what does this mean? 无有日无间.
You mean the formless penetrates the seamless? What does that mean? I don't know. It maybe just means something like, if it's soft enough, then it does not have a special form, just like material science, right? So then it's easier for them to go through like a clothes. So now if you want to let the finger go through the t-shirt, and it's difficult. But if you just give like blow of breath, and then the air can go through the the t-shirt or the cloth, which seems to be seamless, much easier than my finger, because the air does not have a, like, according to Charles' interpretation, a certain form.
And what is it? Like, 无间 trying to refer what 无间 refers to here.
You mean seamless? Yeah.
As a place that's where's going, or
I don't know. I think as what I interpreted just now, it's rather space, right? So maybe the English, I don't know, seamless, like lückenlos in German, which means like, but in fact it's not really lückenlos. Maybe very, very thick, or yeah, like a wall or something like that. Yeah, I'll get through. Further question?
Yeah, I guess this chapter seems really mysterious to me and sort of provocative, just because it's like using sort of paradoxical formulations like wu yo. This like if you wanted to translate it more literally than formless, like this non-being or this non-having having or something like this, you know. And then also the fourth line being that this, whatever he means by the formless penetrates the seamless, it must be quite important, because that's how he knows that Wu Wei has profit, has Yi. And I mean, earlier, I feel like we've had sort of in earlier sessions a lot of questions about the relationship between Dao and Yi. Like, it seems like it's not clear to what extent a knowledge of Dao is useful for like our life in the political world or something. And so I guess it's just surprising to see it so like straightforwardly stated here, that Wu Wei does in fact have this Yi.
I think I have a very simple. Your question is really very profound. I find it's beautiful, especially your observation of Wu You. It's really paradoxical. So nobody can understand what really that is in a logical way, right? But you in the end your question, I think is I can understand. I answered in a simple way, like Steve Nye, right? He said some soft power or something like that. What he exactly means, we don't know. But I think, or I'm not 100% sure. But what he means, I think, is very similar to what Laozi has to say here, right? You cannot just conquer the world with military power. Somehow you need to you need to have some values or some culture or some stuff like. But as I said, then in this way, I just interpreted Laozi in a very, very superficial way. But it could be one application of this principle in the real politics or in the political world, right?
Mm.
There's a movie called 无间道. Is this the same as this, or maybe first 无间 come from here? I like same like here, and Dao also.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I haven't. I know the film, but I didn't saw it. So maybe it's just for a film. It just sounds cool. Not really have. I don't think that film is a philosophical film. That's an action film, in fact.
Oh, there is what's your name? Can you please tell me your name? Can you please tell me your name again?
Skylar.
Skylar, yeah. So there's a film, Hong Kong film in China, and it's called 无间道. So here, 无间 means seamless. 无间 actually literally means no space or something.
No space.
And in China, there's a movie called 无间道. If you're interested, you can also watch it. I think it might took the words from here. And it's actually very, very, very famous and good movie. It's kind of before the Hong Kong movie goes down, it's kind of peak, the last highest highlight of the Hong Kong movie era.
Super
So
cool.
yeah.
Sorry, sorry for this excursion.
No, I'm curious. I'll have to check it out.
It's a little bit divergent. Anyway, so there another stuff is this for me this teaching without words comes for in different passages. This, for example, in chapter 2, you also have this. And also exactly as you said, being non-being or teaching without words is like a similar paradoxical phrase. That's in chapter 2. That's why the sage handles affairs by non-doing and practice teaching by not speaking. It lets all things happen but does not initiate. Lets them grow but does not possess. Gets things done but does not take advantage. Achieve his goal but claims no credit. Just because he claims no credit, his credit does not go away.
In Chinese, we have 言传身教. 身教, it's maybe, I don't know whether that's what Laozi intended, or maybe that's like the people later on sort of but maybe it's also not highly thought of by Laozi.
So basically, you are suggesting that education then should be achieved by examples. So the teacher shows examples, and then the students imitate the teacher's behavior without got the words involved. Can we understand this? The teaching without words here that way?
Or teaching by doing.
That's directly like crash with Laozi's benefits by not doing. Clashes.
That doing and this doing is different.
Okay.
That doing means like by actions, like teaching by actions or.
I would say,
for example, parents want the kids to read more books, but instead of saying they can read the book whenever they are with the kids. So kids can also start to read the book without being told to do so.
yeah, that's what I mean. It's like teaching by example and the kids by imitation. So basically,
Exactly.
yeah, basically it's even the foundation, somehow foundation of virtue ethics. And that's of course goes too far away. Yeah. But I think Laozi just tired of propaganda, I think. What he want to say is like this state just ideology or something like that. You always have this propaganda in every way in the
All the
world.
country.
Yes, and then Laozi just get tired of that. For me, I have the feeling, and he also thinks this kind of stuff, blah 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 blah, is the reason of the decay of the morality or something like that, maybe. And in that case, so if you're doing less, you speak less, that would be better. If you're doing less, even better. If you just read your book, don't think of, okay, I will make an example of my children, maybe they learn more. You just enjoy your reading. And your children then have the feel they got in love with books. But if you say your biggest joy is playing video games, right? And when your children came home and then you run for a book, and then I think that does not work either. So maybe Laozi means something like that. Rather, I would say. And I found in fact, I would interpret it like teaching without words a little bit easier than seminars. Teaching with words and lectures. I think gorgeous we have this discussion. You are on mute, Scott.
Sorry. In Gorgias, what are you thinking of?
Socrates always emphasized that he does not want to hear lectures, right?
Oh yeah.
He just wants short sentences and discussions.
Yeah, because he gets a really long speech out of maybe Polus or maybe Callicles. I can't remember who gives the really long speech. And he's like, I can't deal with this. Like, I don't have enough memory. We have to speak in like short sort of bursts.
I think that could be also one interpretation of it. Yeah. So teaching by authentic examples as it is, and teaching rather seminars or questions than lectures.
Yeah. Doesn't it seem a little strange to you, this passage? Like just the sort of like Wu Wei Zhi Yi, this like non-being having profit. Doesn't that sound sort of strange in the context of Lao Tzu?
Can you like elaborate a little bit more? Why do you think it's strange?
I guess just because the very idea of profit seems to receive a lot of criticism.
I see what you mean. So then he says he does not like the concept of profit, but here he says if you does not you exercise non-action, then you will get the highest profit, right?
Yeah.
True. I see.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe I'm just coming to it with sort of thoughts from the Diamond Sutra. This idea of like the great reward, and how attaining an understanding of the highest things will get you a good reward, but you also have to like not be concerned with this somehow. Just this paradoxical thing.
In any case, I think I can only agree with that. First question. If not, then we go to chapter 44. I think 43 is relatively simple, right? Compared to 42. 42 is really, really difficult.
Yeah, I mean, it's still not clear to me how to understand Wu Yao, but I don't know how we could get further. Or I don't know the right questions to ask. But yeah, 42 is strange. It seems also like it got picked up in the Taoist tradition. It seems like there were a lot of debates about how to interpret it because it's so vague. Just 1, 2, 3, 1,000 things.
Yeah, so vague, and also you have the feeling so many important concepts and like fundamental, and also somehow seems to make sense as a short passage as a whole, but at the same time it's so vague. Yeah. You cannot really understand it. Is anybody willing to read 44?
Maybe I can. Which is dearer, your reputation or your life? Which is more valuable, your life or your goods? Which is more vulnerable, your gain or your loss? Too much doing leads to big waste. Doting. Too much doting leads to big waste. Too much hoarding leads to great loss. Resting content is not humiliating. Knowing when to stop is not dangerous. For that's the way to last.
I think I can begin with my understanding of the structure. So it begins with 3 examples or eloquent questions, right? And in fact, you don't need to answer it, which don't need an answer. Like, which is dearer, your reputation or your life? Of course, your life. Everybody would say here answer. Which is more valuable, your life or your good? Of course, your life. So, which is more vulnerable, your gain or your loss? It's a little bit difficult, right? Yeah. But anyway, these 3 questions, 3 examples, according to Laozi, you have a very obvious answers. Then get to the second passage. Yeah.
I think like your reputation in your life is, I think maybe now it's obvious everyone would choose life, but over the, like in history, I think people would choose differently. Many people would choose the reputation over the life.
Yeah. Exactly. So in that way, for Laozi, he just want to criticize those people, right? Because then second passage, he says then why? Because those people who love in the reputation must be undergoes a high cost, which is their life. And those people which want to like hoarding a lot of goods usually also have a great loss. So that's why your body or your life is more important than your goods. So the first is question, and second is reason, and the third he gets to a very, very like lofty conclusion of the content. Therefore, resting content is not humiliating. So then he comes to his conclusion, which is content. Right. So I just want to say the structure, question, explanation, then a little bit the one step further is conclusion.
Nice. It's good to know that 知足 come from 老子, 道德经. Yeah, actually, this 知足 people use now also a lot. Like, so the third last sentence, this 知足 or resting content. Resting content original is 知足. People still use it a lot now, right now. And I didn't know that this word already is there 2000 years ago.
Sure.
Nice.
And in fact, these are in different chapters. I can read it a little bit in chapter 33. We also have it. It said there, he who is content is rich. In chapter 33, and in 46, just following, this is more the most famous one about content, I think, is here.
Yeah.
No calamity is greater than discontent. No mistake is greater than greed. Therefore is the contentment of being content. That is the everlasting content.
How do you guys think about knowing when to stop is not dangerous?
This die, I think is translated into dangerous, but you can basically this is a coincidence. I think die in Chinese is Chinese character, and the English word die is the same, death or to die.
Really?
Yeah, die is basically means knowing when to stop is not dangerous. He translated to that. You can translate it into knowing when to stop or where to stop is not tödlich. Die means just kind of like very dangerous or even tödlich. So, Skylar, what do you think about this?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of examples. Because it just seems like a sort of obvious thing, and so I'm trying to think of counterexamples where it might seem like trying to go, past your limits or something is somehow going to help you.
Yes.
Because otherwise he's arguing against, a weak opponent. Or it's trivial.
I think you're this is really important. Today we would say think out of the box, right? Going beyond your limitation, right? And this is also slightly similar to Bertrand Russell's critique of Aristotle's golden mean, right? And then of course, you should know where to stop, how to stop. Do not be too smart or too and so on and so forth. And Bertrand Russell says, "Do you also mean intelligence?" So, are you also saying, Aristotle, that people should be content with their ignorance? So, then there, would you say something like this? So I would say, in this example, I don't know why that has to Laozi as a whole, but maybe we can say, if you always feel content about your life, right? Maybe it's good if you're just content about your material condition. But sometimes if you are content of your intellectuality, or I don't know, this word is we don't know what that means, but then it seems weird, right? Because usually we say we should go one step further, say where I can reach. In this regard, most people would agree. Laozi does not agree, of course, that's for sure. Yeah. So he is coherent. Is what I said somehow clear to you?
Yeah,
Okay.
crystal clear. So you somehow also disagree with Laozi to some extent, that at least regarding the intellectual stuff.
Yeah, knowledge or truth or intellectuality or just curiosity or exploring, inquiring, something like this is this kind of stuff. I think Laozi basically has a negative attitude towards this stuff.
Really?
Yes.
So he means like being ignorant is good.
That's a huge problem. So I think if you go and read Laozi, and you will kind of like get his like attitudes basically, but there's also a lot of stuff, nuances not clear. Anyway, he's kind of like anti-intellectual. This kind of stuff, I would say. I don't know, Skylar, what do you think of what have just been said and discussed?
Yeah, I mean, I think in earlier sessions we talked about like the value of knowledge for Lao Tzu, and he definitely says things critical of knowledge, like he says things critical of profit and advantage. I can't remember which chapter it was, maybe chapter 3, so early on, that there's this idea that once you know the good, you also know, oh no, it's already chapter 2. When you know the beautiful as beautiful, then ugliness comes about. And when you know good as good, then not good comes about. And so there must be something ambivalent at the very least about knowledge, that it always has, and contains the opposite of the positive things that are known. But here, I don't know, here it just seems like we've somehow overcome that, and knowledge is just a good thing.
Here, knowledge is good thing, you think, so you know the contents, right? You know the limitation or something like that. Okay.
Yeah, and I wonder if it's because it's like knowledge of Wu Wei, like knowledge of non-action, that now that is the only kind of knowledge that is purely good.
Also a parallel critique like Russell's. So you see, Wu Wei is very important, so but knowledge is not. So how about knowing Wu Wei?
Maybe one fact which can support Laozi in this regard is this nuclear bomb.
That's for sure, yeah.
Knowing and knowing and knowingly to some point, which is very dangerous.
That's a strong example, yeah. I And Skylar, what the word doubting means, or doubting?
Yeah, it's kind of a weird word to use here. It's usually used in combination with like a woman who is taking too much care of a child. So like a mother could dote upon a child, and that means
Spoiled.
spoil, give too much attention to. Yeah, but I think it might be he might be using it slightly different here.
The Chinese word is love, in fact.
Just to love, yeah.
So I think it just means like if you love all the cars a lot, then you will use a lot of your maybe your 10 years salary to buy a car, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, then that's the meaning of dote that they're using. Because there's also in English it can also mean to just act stupidly or foolishly. And it's a word for just getting old, like your dotage. It's just your old age because you're getting senile and silly. But yeah, it must just mean to love in this.
I wonder what Plato has to say here. For him, if you love wisdom, then that would be great. So the more the better. And in the second line, in the third line, which is more vulnerable, your gain or your loss? So here, Laozi seems to say the loss is better than the gain, right? I don't know if we follow the whole structure here. What do you think here? Which is better, gain better or loss better?
Yeah, it's tricky. Tricky. I mean, like there's a way in which your loss is not vulnerable because it's already lost. And your gain is vulnerable because it can still be lost.
So tricky here because the first line, what important is the body, right, or the life, right? And it also it was the letter. And the second line, life and the body or life and the goods. In this case, the life seems to be better, but it's the former. So you cannot directly from this sentence structure to say which one lots really means better. So that won't help. No. And for the too much hoarding leads to great loss, we suggest loss is bad, right?
Yeah.
So then that would be gain, which is more vulnerable, your gain or your loss, then it seems to the gains by better, the one you should choose. But if the gains what you should choose, then if you gain something, then you are holding something, right? It's just so like difficult to understand. Any idea or question?
I don't know what's the meaning of being here.
Being. Being is just he translated vulnerable or problematic or right. I say what's the translation in this one? 44. Which is a greater calamity? So just calamity.
What's the meaning of calamity?
灾祸.
Loss is already calamity. And gain might be calamity in the future. Because once one gain, one might lose it.
Further comments? So I think then it's a good time to
Call it a day.
call it a day. Yeah, we should not gain too much.
Too much gain. These two.
Great. Yeah, I probably won't be able to join the next 2 or 3 weeks because I'll be traveling back to the US. But I hope to join you all afterwards.
Great, and have a nice trip and enjoy your time in the US.
Thanks. All right. Have a nice evening.
Bye.
Ciao.